let's start this. Right. So we have a beautiful little Arduino. The camera's over here, Stephen. We have a little Arduino. We've got 9 LEDs on this and 1 button. The goal is that we can get this all to flash and flash. But more than just flashing it, what we actually want to do is we want to have a little LED blink over here, and then kind of sweep up all the way over to here, and then sweep back all the way back over to here. And for our little button, we want to be able to push the button, and if we land on the green LED, if that's the one we hit the button for, then it should do a little like winner winner dance. And after it's decided whether we won or lost, it should wait a little bit, and then it should play the game again. I think that's all we want to do. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be that hard. So again, you know how to set this up. Let's talk about the programming of it. We're going to do the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with just like the simple sort of like default sketch. And in fact, let me go and here we go. There's my default sketch. You don't see it yet though, so I'm going to steal this text, copy, close that window, paste it in here. This is the default welcome to nobody sketch. We need to be able to blink though. So we're going to, in our setup, we're going to have a serial dot begin. We're just going to use the serial possibly a lot, mostly for debugging. And so I'm going to put a little comment in here for bug killing time. You know, we just want to be able to get that sort of going. And then what we need to be able to do is basically get all of the pins that are ready here. So all of these pins that are plugged in to the LEDs, my pins that are in the LEDs are pins 3 through 11. So I need to turn all of those on. And I can do that by basically just pin mode, the number of the pin, and then the kind of like turning on we want it to be. We want it to be an output. Gotta spell things right. And great, so I just do that, you know, all the way to 11. I'm a little lazy though, so I'm gonna copy and paste, right? So paste, and then I can go 3, and then I can go 4, 5, but guys, I'm even a little bit more lazy, so I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna turn them all this way, but next time I need to do something with all of these, I'm totally gonna make a for loop. In fact, just for the fun of it, if I were about to do a for loop, you know what, hold on, no, let's get things one thing done at a time, Stephen. Let's start here, copy that, paste, that'll get me to 9. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. There we go. So that's my 9 pins. They're all turned on, right? That's, I mean, honestly, it's not that much text. 9 lines of text. I'm not gonna do anything. 9 lines of text is nothing. If I wanted to do it in less lines of text, and I'm gonna put this into a comment here. So we could do a 4, and then you gotta make a little variable here, call it I, because that's what we do, right? We have our counting variables equal I. We want to make sure that we're counting from, well, actually, what we want to do is sort of count from 3, right? And then we want to go all the way to 11. So I is less than or equal to 11. And then we're going to go count by 1. Count by 1. So to count by 1, we can go I++. That'll do, and then we're going to tab in here. Did I tab? There we go. There's my tab. Pin mode. We're just going to take that one line, pin mode, and we'll put I in here, and we'll set it to output. That looks good, and we'll close that. So that's how I like to do my for loops there. So I could totally just make that a for loop. It's doing the same thing here, right? But we'll do the for loop stuff later. So we also need to be able to use the button. Now we're going to do a interrupt on the button, and so that requires a couple of real quick lines of code. Pin mode, we got to turn it on, pin mode. And our button is actually hooked up to pin number 2. It's pin number 2 because that's like, it's an Arduino. It's an Arduino Uno. It's like a Chinese knockoff of an Arduino Uno, but it's all the same, or so I've been told. And the pin 2 is a special, like, fancy button, and we can do an input and then pull up, and then we can attach an interrupt to that. And by attaching an interrupt, we're effectively basically saying, hey, if this button ever gets pressed, I don't care where you're at in the rest of this program, if this button gets pressed, go do a thing. Okay, and that go do a thing is really cool. We'll get to it in a little bit, but that allows us to basically like let the program do its thing, and then we don't have to constantly check to see if a button's being pressed at this exact moment and worry about all the timing. We just have to like have, when we're doing the, you know, the little thing that it does when the button gets pressed, we just set it to you know, flip a switch, basically say like the button's been pressed, and then we can check to see if the button had been pressed. Oh, we don't want to put button there, we want to put the pin number. Yep, and then we're going to put our variable, no, we're going to put the function that we want to call. So the attach interrupt is going to need the pin number, and then it's going to need the function to call. And let's go ahead and call this pressed. Nope, can't do pressed. Let's call it smash. I mean, that's probably not the best name for the function, but it's clear enough, it'll be fine. And then you can use a couple different options here. Low is one of them, and it seems to work. So that is all we will need in our setup function. Yeah, we're turning on the serial so we can do some debugging. We've got a little comment here. Again, these 9 lines could have easily been replaced with these 3 lines. And now we're ready for our loop. Now, we could go straight to our loop, but we've already said that we were going to make a smash function, so let's go ahead and do that. So before our void loop, we're going to make a void smash, and it's not going to take any parameters, and it's going to do one thing and one thing really, really well. It's going to turn a Boolean value, a true false value, to false. Well, you know what though? So before we get to our setup, we should probably have some sort of like true false value, right? And these are going to be a global variable because we want to be able to use it in the smash, we want to be able to use it in all of the other our functions, we want to be able to use it in our void loop. I've heard that you know, global variables probably aren't the best thing to use, but I don't know, it seems to work for me. Also, I want it to be a true or false, so the variable type is going to be a bool or a boolean, and I'm going to just call this variable go, like, because we're going. If it's going, we're going to go, and then it's going to go true, right? And then true special word is lowercase. Looks good so far. Yeah. And then right here, we're going to go, and we're going to make go equal false. So if we hit the button, go is false. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, why don't we just make go, you know, like false, or the opposite of true, you know, make go a negative go, and then we can hit the button multiple times, and go will be true and go will be false, and we can reset it with that same button. And I totally agree, that would work. But the electronic parts that I'm using here, the actual physical button, is not a fancy button, and this circuit it's not a fancy circuit. It's literally plugged into pin number 2 on one end, and on the other end of that button, it's plugged into ground. There's no fancy stuff happening with this circuit, and so our button tends to bounce. If you hit it once, you actually hit it a dozen times. And if you make it the smash function here that's being interrupted every time the button hits, then when you hit the button, when you feel like you hit the button once, you actually hit it an even number of times, then that value flip-flop, 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 and then flops back to what it was. And you're like, I smashed the button, why didn't it stop? And it's really annoying. So we're going to just set it to false, and we'll set it to true some other way later on in our code. That'll be fine. So we got that. And now we can basically, let's just go to the main loop, right? Like, here's where we're going to put the code that we want to run repeatedly. So let's talk about what we actually want to do. We kind of want it to, like, again, sweep up. We want to kind of start it here or here. I don't know. Well, let's just call it here because that's the number 3. So if we go to number 3 pin or LED, then we're going to go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then we're going to come back down. Now that doesn't sound like a very difficult thing to do, so let's go ahead and do that. We can just go and do digital write. Okay, and then like the number 3, and we can turn it on to high, and that'll turn the number 3 one on, and then we can wait a little bit, delay, so that it doesn't just happen too quickly. Let's go ahead and delay for, I don't know, 100 milliseconds. And then we can go ahead and do the digital write, and for the same pin, number 3, and we can just turn it to low. And now that'll be on for a little bit and then turn off. That's great. And now I just need to do that copy and then paste. Oh boy, hold on a second. Let's pause for a second. Remember up here where I said we could do these 9 lines of code with just this one little for loop? I'm about to make 3 lines of code for each one of these 9 LEDs. 3 times 9 is like 27 lines of code. Guys, I'm lazy, and I don't want to do that. So you know what? I'll make a for loop. Yeah, let's make a for loop, just like I did up here, right? Let's see. It's just for int I, and that's a local variable, so we're going to declare it every time because it's a for loop. And then I, and then 11. Okay, sweet. And it's gonna count up. So okay, I can do that. For int I, no, not equals, int space I equals 3, good. And then we're going to go until I, or as long as I is less than or equal to 11. And then we're going to go I plus plus, we're going to count up. And then we're going to come down after this. We don't need those anymore. And we're going to put that here. We're going to tab all this in so it looks fancy. Oh, look how fancy that looks. Now one little quick thing. This 3 actually ought to be an I now. And if I do that, that's gonna do the thing, and it's gonna loop back. You know what? That might be fun. Let's go ahead and plug in my little stuff. We're gonna run it, and just to make sure that I'm getting all my lights. Oh, it's got some old code in there right now. Let's tools port com7. That's what I am, at least. We're going to compile the sketch, and it looks like it's compiling. It looks like it's uploading. Yeah, now it's done uploading, and let's see. Yeah, it looks like all of my LEDs are going, so feel like I'm good. Yeah, I feel like I'm really great. Now, I am curious, what happens if I get rid of that, and let's just make it less than 11 and not less than or equal to 11. I would hope that maybe this last LED stops lighting up, because then I can understand how for loops work. If it doesn't, if it still lights up, then clearly I don't know how for loops work. And oh, yay, I know how for loops work. So okay, so we do want it to be less than or equal to 11. We could also do less than 12 here, but I like my numbers to match my numbers, right? So I do want that last LED to light up. If you are missing an LED when you're trying this yourself, just make sure that you're starting and ending at the right spots. Sometimes we get these little things, they're off by 1, and it's normally because we forgot the less than or equal to. So not a big deal. Okay, so there we have it. That's going up. and it's starting again at the bottom, and it's just going up and up and up and up and up. Would be cool. Like, again, I want it to kind of go up and then bounce back, right? So come back down. So let's try that. I'm gonna leave that plugged in over there. Really, if I look at this, there is, I mean, this is basically the same code that I want. I just want to do it the kind of other way. So I'm going to go int. Let's go ahead and have a I there, and we'll start I at 11 this time. That sounds smart. And then we'll count down, right? So as long as I is greater than or equal to 3, and we'll go I minus minus. Beautiful. And then here's that code. So we're going to do the same 3 lines in here. So it's digital right. And we're going to use our variable there, and we're going to turn them on again. High. Oh, gotta have capital letters. High. Good. And then we're going to delay. 100. That's good. Oh, difficult. Guys, why didn't you tell me I had a spelling error? That should be a D-I-G, not a D-I-F. I mean, the G and the F are close. And then, of course, that T and the I are also messed up. Gosh, okay. You know what, though? Look, check this out. See how this is black and white right here? And this is like beautiful orange color on mine, at least. Yours might be different colors, but if your colors don't match, I mean, that should be a little like clue that you've spelled something wrong. That's all right. We'll break it again later when we try and run it, just to see what the error message is. Okay, digital right, and then we'll go I and we'll go low. We gotta spell low the right way, because sometimes I get low spelling the wrong way. I add an extra E at the end. Okay, so there, that looks good. If this is going up, as soon as this low hits, this high is going to hit with the next one. So really, I'm going to have 2 that are on it almost a split second. No, this is going to turn off, and this one's going to turn on, but there's not going to be any delay. You know what? Let's put a little delay in there, just because. Let's keep that same delay there. Oh, hold on. There's no delay between low and high, is there? No, there's not. So we don't need a delay there, because it's looping, right? There's a low here, and then it's high, and it's low here, and it's high. There's no delay, but there's a delay between the high and the low. Okay, fine, perfect. So now, again, we're just gonna. I haven't done much. We're just playing around in the void loop there. We're gonna upload that, and here's done uploading, and it looks like it is going up and coming down, right? That looks great for me. Yeah, it's going back and forth, just like we want it to. Okay, perfect. Beautiful. Now, I'm happy. Really, this is great. So I like this. This is kind of going up. This is kind of going down. It's pretty clean. This is 5. If we count this as a line, it's 5 lines of code instead of like 27. That's good. That is fantastic. We could go one step further, I suppose, and make this its own like function if we were going to do a lot of like looping up and looping down, or sweeping up and sweeping down, you know, in other places. And maybe we'll get to that point in a little bit, but right now we're happy. Now we do have this void smash though, right? So what I would like to have happen is these loops to only happen if we're in go, right? So we can do that. We can go if go. So if go is true, effectively, we're going to do these things. Let's tab them over so we can tell that we're inside. Let's come to the bottom here and close that. Okay, so now this opening parenthesis here matches this closing parenthesis down here. Or not parenthesis, these are actually curly brackets. Oh, don't get those confused. Well, I mean, you can, it's hilarious, but don't get those confused. So if go, we're going to do this, and otherwise we're just not going to do that, which will probably mean that the last one to be on, oh no, hold on a second. If go, it's going to hit this for loop, and let's say we hit the button somewhere in the middle of this for loop. It's going to keep doing this for loop, and then it's going to do this for loop, and then it's not going to happen. So if we hit the button, it'll finish its up and down, and then it'll stop, right? Yeah, you know what? Let's test that. Let's upload that. It's uploading. So we are currently in the middle of this going up and down, and I'm going to hit that button. What we're expecting to happen is it's going to complete the sort of back and forth, and then it'll just stop. Ready? Yep. It kind of sped up there for a second. That was weird, but it stopped. Not exactly what I wanted to do. I want it to stop immediately. I don't want it to finish up its little loops. So we're going to come over here, and let's go ahead and say that we do this at the beginning of the for loop, right? Let's check this out. Yeah, if we do the go here, if go. Now I know it looks a little weird having that if go up here and then immediately having it right inside of that for loop, but we're going to have this if go inside of this for loop as well, because we want to be able to only do this stuff if we're in the go section, right? Like if we're going. Otherwise, else, and here's where we get the fun part, we can do kind of like, yeah, else, nope, lowercase e, else, then we're going to do nothing. We're just going to break. For now, we're just going to basically stop, right? I mean, eventually we want to be able to know which the last one, or which LED was on last, you know. But right now, let's do that same thing. So we're going to add the if go, and we're going to add the else break to here. Okay, so if go, and then we'll tab this in so it looks pretty. See how pretty that looks? And then we're going to do our else, and we're going to do our break. Okay, so again, these are matching curly brackets. So now, if we hit the button, it just immediately turns off, right? That's happy. That's kind of what we want. But before we test this, honestly, what I kind of want, I want that last LED, the one we hit, to be on, right? After it stops, I want it to be on. To do that, I need to know, and the program needs to know which LED or which pin was last turned on, right? So we effectively need to know where we were in this loop or where we were in this loop. And that, my friends, I mean, if we're doing it all here in our void loop, which we could do, we could just make a variable. And in fact, let's go up to the top and let's make a variable here up at the top and call this variable something like, well, it's going to be an integer because we need a number, right? We need a number of a pin, and it's a whole number, so we don't need a like 7.5. We need like a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11. That's all we need. So whole numbers, so integer. And there's probably another variable type that's even smaller than an integer because we only need to go to 11, but integer just works. So I'm going to be happy with it. And we want to know which LED it was, right? So we want to know the LED. And the LED sounds fine. Let's call it the LED. And let's just make it 0 to start, okay? It won't be 0 very long, but I just don't want to accidentally pick up, you know, some other value from random memory. So I always just initialize my variables when I'm creating them with an initial value of 0. And if it ever, well, anyway, so now we can come down into here into our little beautiful little for loop right here. And if it's go time, we can actually set the LED is I. Okay. And every time we go here, if it's 3, it's 3. If it's 7, it's 7. Okay, and we can do the same thing here. We can set that the LED equal to I. The LED equal to I. Oh, okay, perfect. And then down here, let's see, this is our if. So where is this curly bracket? Highlights right there. So we want to be here, and this must be, let's start labeling these there because there's 3 of them in a row. So end of void function. No, end of loop function. Loop function. This is end of if go for loop section, and this is the end of counting down. I'll call it sweep down. Sweep down spelling. Okay, and that's my end of the else. I can happily see that. That's my end of the if. That means that this, just for the fun of it, is the end of sweep, because it's sweeping up. It's counting up. I don't know. I like the idea of it sweeping back and forth. So, okay, so now if I want to have an else, I would put an else right here, and this would be, okay, end of, it's probably not going to be that big. I'm going to put it there anyway. End of else if go. End of if go. End of else if go. Sure, that seems a little confusing, but if I read this end of else if go, I would think there's this else and it was part of an if go, which is up here. So that would be fine to me. So here, I want to basically, what do I want to do? I kind of want to just like digital write high, delay, digital write low, and just use the LED. So it just kind of flashes on and off, right? So let's do that. So digital write, and then we'll use the variable the LED, and we'll set that one to high, whatever LED happens to be. It's going to be high, and then we can do the delay. And you know, we're using the delay 100 a lot in here, so that's fine with me. Let's go ahead. I mean, we could set a variable for our delay length and then change the whole thing. That's fine, but we're not going to do that. And then digital write, again, the LED, and we'll go low. And now this time, I want it to be off for a little bit of time too, because otherwise, like, it's the same one. If we're here, if we hit high and then we delay and then we turn it off, but we don't delay, it'll just immediately turn back on, and we won't be able to see that. So we'll do another delay of 100. And again, 100 milliseconds isn't very long. You saw it's basically you know, like, it won't be a problem. But now, when we hit that button, all the other lights should stop blinking, and then the one light that we were on when we hit the button should start blinking. Yeah? So let's go ahead and upload this. Okay, so here we go. We're whoop. My little thing is coming out of its holder, and I feel like I'm gonna break something. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and let's make sure that that's in the frame. That looks like it's in the frame. So what I want to do now is hit the button. I can't see the button, guys. I feel it. There it is. Ready? See if I can get it on the green one. Does not look like I got it on the green one. I'm about as far away from the green one as I can. Now there's no way for me to reset this. This is going to just loop and turn that on and on. But the, or on and off, the Arduino does have a button, and I can reset it from here. All right? So now it's going to loop again, and I can hit the button. Let's see. Huh. Oh, that was weird. I hit the button, and it did the whole thing. And then it came back to the beginning. Let's try that one more time. Okay, and I'm gonna, you know, it's been on that side, this side, over here both times. I'm gonna do it when it's way over there and see what happens here. All right, hold on. Oh, you know what? I think we've got some problems here. It is coming back to that LED every single time, which is interesting. That means to me that we've got some weirdness happening, but we're going to have to worry about that in the next video. So stay tuned. And by stay tuned, I mean come back later for more videos. Bye.